everything is changing so rapidly.
So Jay Query on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You look at the NBA, and they're moving now into beginning stages of getting ready for the end of July down in Orlando. And as we do that, the Florida numbers just in their area where they're going to be playing under the bubble at Walt Disney World have been skyrocketing in the past week and a half. It is an amazing set of circumstances moving into July as we are with the NBA in mind.
I said, John, in April, and this was still, I don't know anybody else, at that time, that I thought we had seen the last of major team sports in terms of spectator sports in the year 2020. And by that I meant we weren't going to see a return of the NBA, we weren't going to see Major League Baseball, and we weren't going to see attended games of the NFL. And I'm going to stand by it. I still don't see it. Not because I don't want it to be, but because each time that we start to get close, it's like watching someone bungee jump. Each time they start to get close, they back away a little bit. And each time that we've gotten closer to this is going to happen. Looks like this is going to happen. Whether it's the Players Association, unions, or whatever else. And I haven't intimately followed it minute by minute, article by article, but it just feels like everyone's optimistic and everyone wants it. In the end, science and reality kicks in, and then people scale back a little bit. I hope I'm wrong. I do. I don't want to be right. I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm sitting at the craps table right now and I got to make that wager, could there be a problem? Are they going to be in front of 55,000 people in October? I could be wrong. Nobody knows. Certainly I don't.
Either side. Jake Query's with us. Just the absolute despicable situation at Talladega yesterday with the noose that a crew member found, one of Bubba Wallace's crew members, in his garage. We were talking about this on my way in with you a little bit earlier. I haven't seen yet to where they have identified or found out who might have been behind that. For NASCAR, I said this earlier, for NASCAR, the best circumstance to come out of this is for it to be somebody completely disconnected and unrelated to NASCAR itself. But because the circumstances and the people allowed the essential folks to be a part of that, it's hard to believe sitting here right now without any answers that it would be a third-party person like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the thing about this, look, goes without saying that it's totally unacceptable. I mean, even if it was somebody that was like, oh man, it was just a prank, which
that's nothing funny about that.
But I'm just saying, regardless of what it is, it's totally unacceptable. Especially unacceptable anyway. And if anybody was doing it with anything other than ill intent, then if nothing else, they should never be allowed back into a racetrack, not only for the vile nature of it, but just for the plain stupidity of not understanding in today's climate and culture what that represents to people. I mean, it's